Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang from WagerTalk.com. At UCapper Sports on Twitter, I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Tony Finn to talk about the two NBA playoff games we have tonight. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com and WagerTalk.com. We got the free live odds pages on the sites. We got the deals pages. Cappers provide free picks and analysis on a daily basis as well, along with their daily packages that they do have for sale there. Also, please make sure you head over after you head over there. Hit the like and subscribe button here on YouTube before you go. With that said, let's get Matt and Tony up here with me. Guys, we got two game threes tonight. One tied 1-1, another one that's 2-0. We got a lot to talk about today, but I want to ask you guys first, how's your NBA playoffs going this week? Let's start with you, Tony.
I passed completely yesterday, and I've had one in second round play. I've only had one. I've only taken one position, and that's a position that I failed with. That was it was in game one. I like the Suns plus the points in Denver, and for those who watched, I wasn't even close. So maybe better tonight, right?
Yeah, let's make it happen. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, so far it's been a pretty solid week. We're 5-2 on the week since our last show. We talked before. We had a really great show. I wish I would have taken more plays because we were all over essentially everything that we said. But I ended up just taking the Derek White best bet that I had. That ended up hitting. And yesterday I had Dub Nation with the -5.5 coming back and evening out the series. So hit that one 5-2, like I said, up around 7 units and just looking to keep it going this week. Ready to break it down.
Yeah, for me, I had a 5% play yesterday. Got that one. I had the Warriors there. That was a pretty good win there. Felt pretty good to win by a huge margin. Also, 4-1 run in the NBA this week as well. So hopefully we continue going in that direction here, and we can start with the games today. First one up, the Celtics and the Sixers here. Series tied 1-1. Sixers stole game one without Embiid, and then Embiid comes back. And the Celtics make a statement and beat the Sixers by 34 points there. But Matt, we talked about this on Wednesday's show. You kind of talked about this in the beginning here, but we kind of locked in on that game and made a lot of right calls there. Embiid coming back off of the injury, the fact that the Celtics match up well in the versus the Sixers when Embiid is in the lineup. Do you see anything here in this game three now that Philly is at home where they typically play better? Do you see them coming out pretty strong here, or do you see, the Celtics coming back and trying to get that home court advantage back?
Yeah, this is one of those spots where I don't have a play on it just yet. And, last game, on the Wednesday show, we talked about it. When stars are reinserted back into that lineup, and next year, maybe on the show, we should track this, Ron, because we've talked about this all year long. When a star is reinserted back into that lineup, we tend to fade that team. And we've been very successful with that all year long. Now they're coming back into Philadelphia, where Philadelphia plays very good home basketball with a 29-12 straight up record in the regular season. This is going to be the second game back with Joel Embiid. So for me, if I were to go anywhere here, I think it would be with the 76ers at home. I believe they're getting 2.5 points as well. Would definitely be more comfortable taking the spread, but it is close enough where you might just want to go money line here. This is one of those spots. Once again, I think Philadelphia plays very good at home. And we talked about this. James Harden, very streaky, but also he's an up and down guy, and it was kind of predictable for him to have an off game in game two. Same with Tyrese Maxey played okay. Tobias Harris got it going a little bit. Now coming back to Philadelphia, though, this is one of those spots where you're coming off a loss. I think they can rebound pretty well. And I think Joel Embiid is due for one of those bigger games. We watched him in Brooklyn, and he didn't have a single big game. I don't think he's had a single big game this playoffs just yet. So for me, after James Harden went off for 45, after Tyrese Maxey, went along for the ride too, I believe he had 24 points in game one. If, in fact, they can get that outside shooting going and it forces them to spread the court out, which being at home, they shoot a lot better, obviously. They have a really good home record. So I do think they have the ability to space that court out with James Harden, with Tyrese Maxey. And one thing with that, too, is when James Harden is in and when Joel Embiid are in, that's when James Harden gets those assists going as well, with those pocket passes, with those pick and rolls from the mid-range, things along those lines. that is what helps to space out the entire court for the Philadelphia 76ers. And with them being at home, with them coming off a loss, and, really no one on that team playing well, I would personally be with the 76ers in this spot. And if there's any player prop I would be looking at, I know Joel Embiid is the focal point. He's that number one guy. Boston does pretty good job at shutting down that number one guy. I still think this is a great Embiid spot because, again, if they get that outside shooting going, it's going to space the court out, and that pick and pop is going to be there with James Harden and Embiid. So I would be with Embiid tonight, and I would actually be backing the 76ers as well.
Yeah, I would think from an offensive perspective, we would see a far better performance from the Sixers here in Game 3, especially with them being at home. Like you mentioned, they're a lot better at home than they are on the road. 31-12 straight up, 27-16 against the spread. But if you include that they're avenging a loss, I know this includes the regular season, but if they're at home avenging a loss, they're 16-4 straight up, 15-5 against the spread. And that does include a game against the Celtics there during the regular season. I would lean towards the Sixers from a side perspective, but I'm just not super confident because of the situation here, right? Because the Celtics have a lot of they need to fight for that home court advantage back, right? So they got to get one of these games here on the road. I don't know if it's this first one or the next one here in Game 4, but I would think that they put up a really good fight here. But overall, I just feel like the defenses are going to show up on both sides of the ball. I'll talk about the total in the best bet section. But Tony, what are your thoughts on this game here? Do you see any a betting advantage on the side or the total?
Well, if you're one of us, I should say, and you pay attention to everything, every little thing that transpires or is projected and before game, let's say post or pre-game, then you have to look at this number and say, 2 points, essentially a pick'em game. I mean, in truth, if you're giving any home court advantage to the Sixers, Boston's the favorite tonight, right? That is if you're going to give traditional points at home. So unlike game two, those who had top player props or props on the top side or over for most of the players were probably disappointed. Expect Tatum, right? You see Tatum, Boston wins at 30 plus, 36, I think it was, whatever it was. 7 points on 1 of 7 shooting, and they win by how many? Whatever it was. After it's 39, right, on Monday, in Monday's game 1, upset loss to the Sixers. So that said, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, the guys who carried Boston, and it's an aberration, should I say, that Tatum doesn't have a big game tonight. And I mean, we're talking 30 plus. If you like Boston tonight, I think it's a given. Tatum has to score 30 plus for this Boston team on the road tonight. So in that case, if you're a props player, you're probably going to look at Tatum over points, maybe even go with the par, and you're looking at Tatum having a big game, probably playing 40, 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point there. I mean, one thing that while you were talking, you mentioned something about the Celtics side here. So I actually went to the Killer Sports database and I looked this up real quick. So home dogs where in the game 3 of a series where the series is tied 1-1, the home dogs are actually 2-15, 4-12-1 against the spread. That points towards the Celtics there. And I mean, it just goes to show, especially in the round 2, where it's more apparent that the team should be a little bit more closer lined up, that the home dogs, I guess you would say, like, the line is there for a reason, right? The road favorites are there for a reason. I think that maybe that's why I kind of stayed away from the side here and more focused on the total. But that's a good point by you there. Focusing on that like specific situation as road favorites there for the Celtics. Let's move on to the Nuggets and the Suns. The Nuggets, this one, lead the series 2-0. They look like they're in complete control of both of those games. That in the first 2 games there, but this travel spot going from home to road for Denver has been sort of a tough obstacle for them this season. They're 9-12 straight up, 7-14 against the spread. Going from a home game to a road game, it's just something that they don't transition well. But obviously the Suns are going to be doing the same thing. So do we expect a low scoring game or anything like that? What do you think? So going back to you, Tony, do you think that travel situation from elevation to not is a big key factor in playing a total here, or do you see something from a side perspective that you like a little bit more?
In second round action, two teams that didn't go full 7 games in round one or first round action. I don't think fatigue or altitude plays too big a role. So, situation without a Chris Paul, first thing I always look for without Chris Paul, the first thing I always look at is this over a play? Is the over a play with the Suns? If you watch Booker all night, I expect Booker to have a big game. There's more than Booker on this team. It's going to take more than Booker to beat Denver. But without Paul, with Durant, Booker really was a facilitator. He was a facilitator. He not only to score big points, but because everyone's typically they're going to bracket or double Durant, at least the opposition, not just in the postseason, but even at the end of the regular season this year. And it really freed up Booker to have almost anything he wanted mid-range. I mean, those elbow jumpers from 12, 15 feet, anything you wanted. So I would be looking over. To answer your question, I'm still looking over, especially with Denver. I don't think you'll see a repeat of Game 4 in the Denver-Minnesota series. Really surprised me because Denver was set up to just exit that 4-0, even though it's in Minnesota, to basically to take that game, take them down, a shorthanded Minnesota team with no bench, no contribution from the bench. And they almost looked like they were asleep. They were sleepwalking. And what happened was they ended up going into a series here with Phoenix with almost equal rest. And if you look at Denver's record this year with a rest advantage, best in the league. The best in the league with rest advantage. Still pretty good without rest advantage or short rest advantage. And they didn't do it. So I agree with you 100%. The first thing you said was, man, this transition between, from home to road, Denver struggled with. They've struggled with it. That game, even though 3 was theirs, Game 4, they looked asleep, like they already knew they won the game. They were pretty relaxed. Even late in the game when they were still down, I saw no sense of urgency at all from this team. Yeah. You're up 3-0. I guess you don't need a sense of urgency. But I think every game matters. Every game you don't have to play helps you in the following series. There you go.
Yeah, no, that's a good point here. One thing to mention too, on the flip side, we talked about how the Nuggets struggle from home to road. On the flip side, the Suns, after the All-Star break, specifically at home, when Kevin Durant played minutes, 6-1 straight up, but 3-4 against the spread. Some of those lines were tight, and they still would not cover those spreads. So could this be a situation where maybe they get the win but not cover the spread? I mean, the line flipped from 4-point dogs to now 4-point favorites from road to home. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one here with the big line movement? Going from transitioning from road to home.
Yeah, we've talked about this on the show many times, and with me and you as well, Ron, we like to kind of look at those teams that are a little bit desperate in a lot of situations. And, this Phoenix Suns team down 2-0 is definitely going to be one of those squads. So for me, I'm okay with the -4. This is actually a game that I am looking to. I like the look of the Phoenix Suns. I'm okay with the -4. If you want to go to Moneyline, it's a little juicy, but like you said, Ron, this Suns team has won some games with some very close spreads. Another thing that I'm looking to, I would be with Tony here. I definitely like the over, and part of it is the fact that Chris Paul is going to be out. Cameron Payne is one of those guys who he does pick up the pace a little bit more. He likes to get in that pick and roll, get into that action early, and he's not always the cleanest basketball player in the world. He definitely has some turnovers and stuff like that, but that also might help with the over as well. So for me, I actually think Cameron Payne increases the pace of this team without Chris Paul, and to Tony's point as well, I think Devin Booker is definitely someone to look at tonight, and I would actually look at his points plus assists, because with without Chris Paul, it's not going to be Campaign doing the distribution. I actually think it's going to be Devin Booker, because he's such a focal point for every single team and he's become a very well-rounded player. He's become a very good passer on top of that. And someone else to look at, maybe a little sneaky, might be DeAndre Ayton. In his career, he averages 20 points and 12 rebounds against Nikola Jokic. Again, I think that focal point is going to be Devin Booker in that mid-range. He's been so successful with it this series up until this point. And then, of course, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant being at home, I think he's always going to get that attention. And because of that, I do think Devin Booker is going to be able to facilitate effectively, get to some of his spots, kind of get it going as well. But for me, I'm all Phoenix in this spot. To your point, once again, Ron, you talked about how the Nuggets do travel or struggle when traveling on the road, and this is a Suns team who is pretty solid at home on the season. This is a Phoenix Suns team with a 28-13 home record, while the Denver Nuggets are 19-22 while on the road. So for me, a very desperate team coming back home. Another thing, Kevin Durant has not had that game at all, throughout the entire playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 2 31-point games, some solid outings. Last game, he shot 10 for 27. And in the beginning of the game, I was like, who is this guy? Honestly, I felt pretty stupid for saying I trust Devin Booker and Kevin Durant over Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic was just going to town. I was thinking about that all night. I was like, man, what an idiot I am. But, it's a different spot. It's in Phoenix now. And Kevin Durant is still Kevin Durant. If you're shooting 27 times, I will take that play every single night. Okay. And we still have the best bet, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But for me, it's the Phoenix Suns in this spot. I think they're going to bounce back well. And someone else who needs to come on and just help a little bit is Josh Okogie. Josh Okogie has had 2 10-point games the entire playoffs so far. He's been starting every single night, and they've been trying to get him or Torrey Craig going. One of these guys has to step up and do a little something to help Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And I think it's tonight. I think those guys step up and the Phoenix Suns get this win.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 4% play on this game here, so I'll talk about something else that I was looking at in this game specifically. I know you mentioned Okogie, Matt, but I think Campaign is going to be another key contributor here, because he was injured for a while. He had I think he played the last game against the in the first round, and he only played like 3 minutes, and then in the game 1 and game 2, he was limited to under 20. So I think it's going to be important to see how many minutes he plays in this game 3 and how healthy he actually is. Because last year when CP was out, he was a big contributor to why they were successful. But I would think that he would be someone that would be important in this game here. It's tough to see KD and Book led team get swept. I don't know if that could happen, but one way that I could pivot off of my best bet was really the Nuggets team total under. We talked about that struggle from home to road, and primarily it was because of their offense in those games where they went 9-12 straight up, 7-14 against the spread. They were 15-6 to their team total under. So it's their offense that was struggling. But, I think that would be another way to pivot off of something, this series here, whether the Nuggets win, cover, or the Suns win or cover. But I think what we see is a slower paced game. And defensively, I know typically we say Chris Paul is out, we're going to look towards the over. You guys were looking towards the over. But I think in a playoff perspective, in this playoff series, I think they want to try and, key in on the defensive side of the ball for the most part and just lock in with KD and Booker on the offensive side of the ball. There's really no other way to do it at this point. From what I've seen in the first 2 games, it's really KD and Booker that had to manage this game here specifically, and everyone really just focused on the defensive side of the ball. And if that happens, I would think that the Nuggets, combined with how they struggle offensively in the travel situation, I would think that they stay under their team total. But that would probably be the way that I look in that game there. Let's go to the best bet sections, guys. And Tony, let's start with you here. I'll talk about your best bet for today's show. Also, what you got going on over at wagertalk.com on the premium side.
Wagertalk.com is the only place you'll find Tony Finn. And always in the mornings, check my homepage. I typically will I will post what I'm going to play or what I've already played, and give you an ETA on when that would be up. Sometimes I'm waiting on specifics, be it an umpire or an injury in the association. So far today, I have 4 positions in the NBA doubleheader tonight, and I have a trio of plays from the Major League Baseball diamond. So drop by and get them. Everything's great price. Good night to be Friday night. Summer's coming up. Great stuff, right? Good baseball and terrific basketball. So check out my homepage. And to the point, or at least the topic that we're discussing, and that is best bets. I mentioned when we talked about the Suns a little bit, just in this last segment, that I think you need a big game from Booker. Booker typically has a big game. Chris Paul is not. Chris Paul's a great player. He's a great player, future Hall of Famer, first ballot. I don't think too many would argue with that. However, this year, some of the injuries the last 2 years, he's slowed a little bit. He's not a guy that wants to, off makes or misses by the opposition, go into transition possessions. He wants to slow it down. And if there's one, listen, I don't think the Suns are that much less than without Paul. There's certain situations I think they're less than, and I think Matt did a great job of explaining, both of you, that that campaign is he's not just he's not just kind of reckless. He looks absolutely reckless when he has the ball. There's nothing. He doesn't look in control at all. The team doesn't look in control. And you both, and Matt especially mentioned this, and that was that they really they want campaign to be more defensive than offensive tonight. He's equal. Chris Paul's not a great defensive player, I don't think, especially at 105 years old. He's just not that great of a defensive player. So, and depending on him to hit a 3-pointer is not what I want. I want with the Phoenix Suns. So, I like Booker, and Matt mentioned it. He said he liked his points, he liked his assists. Right? I have the same game parlay, and that's Booker. And this is the same game as the DraftKings, where you can use alternate points and assists. And when I was looking last night and early this morning, I like Booker. First leg, Booker points over 30.5, and Devin Booker assists over 8.5. 1% or 1 unit returns a plus 270. Same game parlay from tonight's late edition out here west in Pacific.
Tony, you got me and Matt crying over here in the back. You got us crying here. Oh God! All right, well, all right. So let me get to my best bet. We'll go to Matt, but my best bet is on the first game we talked about. The Celtics and the Sixers. I like that game to go under. We've seen a slow pace with and without Embiid, but especially with Embiid back on the floor, the game gets a little bit more physical on both sides of the ball. And I think, to me, in my opinion, physicality means more, lower scoring games. And in the playoffs specifically, and we can go back to as far as 2020, Sixers games have gone under in 5 of the last 6 games where they're at home avenging a loss, and it's primarily due to their defense. And it's same thing in the regular season. This season specifically, during the regular season, after they allowed a team to go over 120 or more, they made the proper adjustments on the defensive side of the ball and limited them the next time they played them. And that happened 11 times, and they kept their opponent under their team total in 8 of those games. So that, to me, that says that they're probably going to be ready to play some strong defense here in game 3. And obviously, Celtics are not going to back down either. They're going to play their defense as well. The other thing to mention too, one more thing to mention from a league-wide perspective, in round 2 of the playoffs, when a team is a home dog, those games are 19-7-3 to the under. I think it's since 2018, if I'm not mistaken. That's a 73.1% percentage towards the under here. So long-term trend, league-wide trend, team trends and analytics all point towards the under in this Celtics game and Sixers game tonight. That would be the way that I go. That is one of my premium plays today over at wagertalk.com. I got 2 in the NBA, 2 in the MLB as well. So you can catch me over that at wagertalk.com. Also, because I just moved over to WagerTalk, they did set up a nice promo code, Welcome 2023. You can use this all week long to save 50% off any daily, weekly, or all access package. Again, that's Welcome 2023 over at wagertalk.com. Let's go over to Matt. What is your best bet today, Matt? And what do you got going on over on the premium side as well?
Yeah, right now over at the premium side, I have 4% play loaded, ready to go, and we'll definitely be adding to that. I am going to make that a package as the day goes on. Probably have at least 1 or 2 more plays. Having a very good week so far. We're 5-2, up around 7 units, and I feel very good about the slate tonight. So ready to keep attacking it, stay aggressive, and keep these wins coming. So with tonight's best bet, we hit Derek White on Wednesday, and we're actually going right back to the best bet on Monday that missed, and that is going to be Kevin Durant over 29.5 points. And this is just a spot where Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are going to have a ton of volume in this spot. We talked about it last time when they were in Denver, and it kind of went as planned, although Kevin Durant shot 10 for 27, which is a very rare thing for Kevin Durant. He's generally one of the more efficient players throughout the NBA, and he actually does like playing this Denver Nuggets team. He has gone over 30 points in 3 out of the past 4 matchups when facing the Nuggets. And again, Ron and I talked about this a little bit before the show. This is a game that is going to be in Phoenix, backs against the wall. Kevin Durant hasn't had that game just yet. And the key defender for Kevin Durant is Aaron Gordon. And with this game being in Phoenix, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see someone like Aaron Gordon maybe get a couple fouls early, have to go out of the game. And if in fact that does occur, there's not really anyone else that can effectively guard Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is one of those players who, when he's on, no one can really guard him. But Aaron Gordon is a big body player. He's tall, he's lengthy, he's a very solid defender. He gets up in you. So if anyone is out and it is Aaron Gordon, I like Kevin Durant that much more. And I just think this is a spot where it's going to be all Devin Booker, all Kevin Durant. And to Tony's point, Cameron Payne is there. I don't think they're looking for him to go out there and shoot the ball a ton. They want him to get in the action, facilitate, find Devin Booker, find Kevin Durant, get back, and play defense. This is going to be one of those spots where I think, again, it's all Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, 25 shots each, and I like Kevin Durant to go over 29.5 tonight.
I like it. If the Suns are going to win, he's definitely going to be a key part of that, as well as Booker here. All right. With that said, guys, I just want to make sure you guys head over to SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. SportsMemo.com, you can find Matt. Wager Talk, you can find myself and Tony Finn. Check out all the amazing content we got over there. A lot of free content over there. All it takes is an email address to sign up. You find deals and promos. We got, the live odds page and everything going on over there as well. Also, before you go, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here on the channel. It only helps our show grow tremendously there. With that said, and our next show will be on Monday. Good luck with all your action. Until then, guys, peace.
Peace.